Welcome to today's discussion on a topic that many of us find challenging: narcissism. This term, often thrown around casually, actually refers to a complex and multifaceted personality disorder. Clinically speaking, narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, is characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, and lack of empathy. But what does this look like in everyday interactions? How can we recognize the signs and navigate relationships with those who may exhibit narcissistic traits? Today, we'll break it down into 10 key signs to watch out for. From grandiosity to manipulative behavior, lack of empathy to a constant need for admiration, we'll delve into each sign, providing clear examples and practical advice. Understanding these signs is the first step towards fostering healthier relationships and maintaining your own emotional well-being. So let's get started. Stay tuned as we delve into the first sign of narcissism: grandiosity. Grandiosity, a key trait of narcissists, often manifests as an inflated sense of self-importance. Picture someone who consistently views themselves as superior, constantly seeking to be the center of attention. They may embellish their achievements, exaggerate their talents, or believe they are destined for greatness. This grandiosity isn't just confidence, it's an overblown estimation of themselves that often borders on fantasy. This behavior can create a chasm in relationships. Friends, family, and colleagues may feel overshadowed, belittled, or unheard. But recognizing grandiosity can be the first step towards understanding the narcissist in your life. Watch for signs of self-aggrandizement. Listen for the constant need to dominate conversations or for stories that seem too good to be true. This awareness can help you navigate interactions more effectively, maintaining your own self-esteem while managing the relationship with empathy and grace. Now that we've explored grandiosity, let's move to the next sign: a lack of empathy. A defining characteristic of narcissists is their lack of empathy towards others. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, is often missing in the narcissist's emotional repertoire. This absence can manifest in various ways. For instance, a narcissist may dismiss the feelings of others, show indifference to their struggles, or even exploit their vulnerabilities. This lack of empathy often leads to one-sided relationships, where the needs and feelings of the other party are constantly overlooked. It can be deeply hurtful and confusing for those on the receiving end. The key is to recognize these behaviors for what they are: signs of a person's inability to step outside of their own perspective. It's not a reflection of your worth, but rather a limitation of the narcissist's emotional capacity. With a better understanding of this lack of empathy, we can now look at manipulative behavior. Narcissists often use manipulation tactics to control others. This is a truth that many of us have unfortunately experienced. It's a strategy that can be as subtle as the twist of a word, or as blatant as an outright lie. So how does manipulative behavior manifest? It may come in the form of gaslighting, where the narcissist invalidates your experiences and emotions, making you question your own reality. Or they may use guilt trips, making you feel responsible for their happiness or discontent. But remember, you're not powerless in these situations. It's crucial to establish boundaries. This doesn't mean you're being unkind or unreasonable. It's about protecting your own mental and emotional well-being. Practice saying no, and don't be swayed by guilt or false promises. Always remember, your feelings and experiences are valid. Manipulation is a common tactic, but so is the narcissist's need for admiration. Stay tuned as we delve into this next sign in the following scene. Narcissists have a deep-seated need for admiration and validation. This craving is not just about vanity or an insatiable desire for compliments. It's a fundamental component of their self-worth, a constant yearning to be seen, recognized, and appreciated. Imagine a scenario where a friend constantly demands praise for their achievements, no matter how small. They might even fish for compliments, subtly or not so subtly, in every conversation. It's exhausting, isn't it? Here's the tricky part: responding to this behavior without feeding their ego. It's like walking a tightrope. On one hand, we want to be supportive and kind. On the other, we don't want to reinforce their unhealthy reliance on external validation. So what's the strategy? Maintain a balance. Acknowledge their accomplishments, but don't go overboard. Be genuine and remember, you're not responsible for their self-esteem. As we navigate these needs for admiration, we must also become aware of their sense of entitlement. Narcissists often display a strong sense of entitlement. This sense of entitlement is not about believing in equal rights or opportunities. It's a sneaky beast that often masquerades as self-confidence. But in reality, it's a bottomless pit of me, me, me. A narcissist with a sense of entitlement believes that the world owes them, that they deserve preferential treatment. They may expect others to cater to their every whim, to drop everything to attend to their needs. They can become infuriated if they don't receive the special treatment they believe they're owed. How do you navigate this tricky terrain? Asserting your own needs is key. Remember, you are not obligated to fulfill their unreasonable demands. Maintain your boundaries. If a request feels unfair or burdensome, it probably is. It's okay to say no. Entitlement often leads to exploitative relationships, which we will explore next. Remember, understanding is the first step to navigating these complex interactions. Narcissists may exploit others for their own gain. A harsh reality we often discover in relationships with narcissists is their tendency to exploit others. They may use those around them to fulfill their own needs or desires, leaving others feeling used and depleted. This exploitation can take many forms. For instance, a narcissist might manipulate someone into doing tasks for them, or use someone's emotions against them to gain power and control. It's important to recognize these patterns. Are you constantly giving and never receiving? Does your relationship feel one-sided? If so, you might be in an exploitative relationship with a narcissist. But don't despair. Recognizing this behavior is the first step towards change. It's okay to prioritize your well-being and extricate yourself from toxic interactions. It's not easy, and it may take time, but remember, you are not alone in this journey. Dealing with exploitation is tough, but so is handling intolerance to criticism. Narcissists often react negatively to criticism. This is a key sign of narcissistic behavior that can be particularly challenging to navigate. When faced with feedback or criticism, whether constructive or not, a narcissist may respond with defensiveness, anger, or even outright hostility. It's as if a critique of their actions or ideas is a personal attack on their self-worth, triggering a defensive mechanism to protect their inflated ego. Picture this. You offer some constructive criticism to your friend, trying to help them improve a project they're working on. Rather than appreciating your input, they react with hostility, perceiving your well-intentioned advice as a malicious attack. So how can one deliver criticism to a narcissist effectively? The key lies in your approach. Be gentle, yet firm. Focus on the issue at hand, not the person. Try to frame the criticism as a suggestion for improvement, rather than a direct attack on their capabilities. Remember, your goal is to help, not to hurt. Criticism is one thing, but what about when narcissists refuse to take responsibility for their actions? Narcissists often refuse to accept responsibility for their actions. This lack of accountability is a sign you're dealing with a narcissist. Instead of admitting their faults, they tend to blame others, even for their own mistakes. Picture this. You're in a disagreement with a friend. Instead of acknowledging their part in the argument, they shift the blame onto you, insisting that you're the one at fault. That's a classic example of a narcissist avoiding accountability. So how do you handle such situations? First, don't let them shift the blame. Stand your ground. Second, don't get caught up in their game. Recognize the tactic for what it is, a deflection. And third, remember that it's not your responsibility to make them see their faults. That's on them. Holding a narcissist accountable can be tough. It requires resilience and firmness, but remember, your well-being comes first. Accountability is key, but let's not forget about the fragile self-esteem that often hides beneath the surface. Beneath the surface, many narcissists struggle with fragile self-esteem. This seemingly paradoxical trait can often manifest in overcompensation, with grandiosity and arrogance acting as shields against perceived threats to their self-worth. It's like a house of cards, impressive from afar, but easily toppled by the slightest breeze. Now, it's important to remember that supporting someone with fragile self-esteem doesn't mean enabling their unhealthy behavior. It's a delicate balance. Think of it like walking a tightrope. You want to be there for them, but without contributing to their narcissistic tendencies. A good starting point? Encourage self-reflection and personal growth. Help them understand that everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and it's okay to be imperfect. However, if their behavior becomes harmful or toxic, prioritize your well-being and consider seeking professional help. Our final sign to look out for is boundary violations. Narcissists often disregard personal boundaries. This is a common trait that can manifest in various ways, from invading physical space to accessing personal information without consent. It's like they are constantly crossing the line, treating your private matters as their public domain. Narcissists may also intrude on your emotional space, ignoring your feelings or overstepping limits you've set. This behavior isn't an occasional slip-up. It's a pattern that consistently disrespects and invalidates your personal boundaries. But remember, your boundaries are essential, and you have a right to protect them. It's crucial to communicate your boundaries clearly, assertively, and consistently. You might say, "I feel uncomfortable when you go through my phone. Please respect my privacy." It's important to stand your ground, even when it's challenging. Navigating a relationship with a narcissist can be tough, but setting and enforcing boundaries is a significant first step towards protecting your well-being. Now that we've explored these signs, let's wrap up with some key takeaways. As we conclude, remember, dealing with narcissists can be challenging. We've journeyed through the 10 signs that can help you identify a narcissist: grandiosity, lack of empathy, manipulative behavior, a constant need for admiration, a sense of entitlement, exploitative relationships, intolerance to criticism, lack of accountability, fragile self-esteem, and boundary violations. These traits can be taxing on relationships, causing strain and discomfort. It's crucial to recognize these signs and understand how to navigate these turbulent waters. Maintaining healthy boundaries, practicing self-care, and seeking professional help when necessary can be instrumental in managing relationships with narcissists. Remember, it's not about changing the narcissist, but adapting our responses, setting firm boundaries, and protecting our mental health. It's okay to step back, reassess, and even walk away if it serves your well-being. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to prioritize your well-being in all relationships, and don't hesitate to seek help when needed.